Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I feel incredibly rough today, but the show must go on, and so here we are. So I'm all comfy cozy in my poncho here. I've already completely lost my train of thought. That's not a good start. So I felt great yesterday. I had no acne. Look at this. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? My skin was looking so clear. I've been working on affirmations and my skin was like going through different stages and it had just gotten so clear. And then I had an awful night of sleep last night where some point during the night, I think I almost dislocated my shoulder. I think I have like a connective tissue disorder. My PCP thought that I did, even though I'm not hypermobile. I have all the other symptoms of EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so she kind of unofficially diagnosed me with that. My joints just always feel super loose and I have to be really careful. I've never officially hyperextended anything or gone out of joint, but it was a rough night. And so I don't remember what happened other than I woke up at some point being like, oh my gosh, my shoulder is in excruciating pain. This is not shoulder impingement pain, so it's not that, which I've had before, but it was so incredibly painful. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I started sleeping weird to not irritate my shoulder. So then my neck became irritated. So by the morning I had a migraine. So I have a migraine, my skin is just looking super rough, and it's a really hard time. Sorry, now I'm getting hot. Having a hot flash. So anyway, it's been a really rough day, and I've not been able to do a lot of my morning routine with my shoulder. Like I usually do a lymphatic drainage massage now, and all these different things, and I can't do a lot of them with not being able to use my right arm. So, you know, send me good healing vibes. But today I wanted to talk about not just this, but about my neuropathy, where I am now, what is going on, is it gone? I had an EMG test last week, what we figured out from that, all of that. So let's get into it. All right, so the answer to is my neuropathy gone is no. Is it a lot better? Yes, it is so much better. Wow, look how swollen my poor cheek is. Anyway, focus. So as some of you know who followed my story, last year I developed neuropathy really fast, really suddenly. It came on because of an endometriosis medication I was on called Zoladex, which also is a chemotherapy treatment and treats breast cancer and prostate cancer. It's a very heavy duty drug. And I was on that drug for months. I developed suicidal thoughts and severe depression, in addition to neuropathy and other neurological symptoms. And unfortunately, my doctor did not believe me that the symptoms I was having were because of the meds. Even though I called the pharmacist said these are possible side effects from this medication. My PCP finally said you need to go off this med to see if it's causing these things. It was causing these things. And thank God I did not stay on this med, because as you're about to find out, it could have been permanent. Basically, my neurologist, who I started seeing last year because of all my neurological symptoms, did this like metal test on my foot and basically took like a thing of metal. It did not look like this phone stand, but basically took metal and went down my leg, and also had done this on my hand. And it feels really cold on my hand, but when he went down my leg, it started feeling warmer, to the point where it was warm on my foot and cold on my hand. And he was like, well, that's not normal. So he sent me to get a leg EMG. I had gotten an arm EMG last year, more than a year ago, before these neurological symptoms started. So I went to see the EMG doctor last week. You get an EMG test, and I can't remember what it stands for, something like electromagnetic something test. Basically, I'll not go into as much detail as I did in the last video I did. If you want to go find that video, like I said, it was about a year ago, and I talked in depth about the test. But basically, they take needles and they stimulate your nerves, they stimulate your muscles to make sure that everything is conducting as it should. And it's not a fun test. It feels like bees are repeatedly stinging you, or something is like repeatedly stinging you. And the nurse who was helping me, right before she left, she was like, you did so much better than most of my older patients. She was like, you did not make a peep. And the thing about somebody who lives with chronic pain, something that you know what the pain is from and it's not going to last forever, and compared to your normal everyday pain, it's not that bad. It's like, it's annoying, but it's not, you know, horrible. And so anyway, I handled it pretty well, I guess. So I had the EMG test done, but the nurse does the first part where they just put electrodes basically and are just stimulating your muscles, and it basically feels like a muscle contraction. So your leg like involuntarily, you know, goes like this, and then the actual doctor comes in for the needles part to put the needles in and stimulate it. And this was so not fun. The needles part was definitely worse just because he would like put the needle into your muscle. You would hear it. It almost sounded like an ultrasound, but of your muscle, which was super interesting. But you would hear it, and then he would say, okay, push in a certain way, like against his hand, and you'd have to push your muscle in a certain way. The worst one was the big toe. He literally was pushing down against my big toe. I don't know if my big toe was just super weak. I don't know what was going on, but that was so incredibly painful to push against someone pushing your big toe down. I hated that experience, or if it's because of my connective tissue disorder, I don't know. But it was a really, really not fun experience. So he did a bunch of tests, but the first thing he did was actually look up Zoladex, because he was like, so when did this start? And he was like, a year ago. Why didn't you come in sooner? And I was like, well, no one prescribed me to come in sooner, and I didn't know I was supposed to come in sooner for this. He looked up Zoladex. He was like, I don't know that med, but like basically all chemotherapy treatments can cause neuropathy. Great, right? So he's looking up Zoladex, and he's like, wow, your endometriosis must have been super bad for your doctor to have put you on this, because it can cause suicidal thoughts. Like, he started listing all these horrible side effects, which I've had the suicidal thoughts one when I was on that med, but he was just listing stuff like, you know, I don't remember if this was right, but it was in the realm of like stroke, blood clot, you know, it's like horrible stuff. Then he got down to neuropathy and all these other things, which was great. He said, like, if you had not come off of this medication, it would have caused permanent damage. Based on his clinical assessment, he said, like, the neuropathy has gotten better to the point of, like, there's a line on my foot where he did that metal test, and above the line it felt cold, and below the line it felt warm. And he was like, okay, so that's your neuropathy line, and it is much better than it was like a year ago. A year ago when it first started, it came on super fast, super sudden, and it was just coming up my leg, it was coming up my arm. It was so terrifying, and it just felt like my hands were on fire and my feet are on fire. It still feels like that, but the fire has diminished so much. But like when it started last year, I would have to hold my hands like this. I couldn't let my hands touch each other because that would make the fire feel so much worse. Like skin on skin contact was just excruciating. But I would have to hold my hands like this because you couldn't use them because any of your nerves touching anything made it so much worse, obviously. It was just such a nightmare. Even to this day, I wear flip-flops in winter because socks irritate my neuropathy. Walking on carpet, which my room at my mom's house is the only room in the house with carpet. Love. Walking on carpet super irritates it, and the only relief I found was putting blue emu oil on my hands and feet, which sucks because I love emus, but it was the only thing I got relief from, which was crazy. So anyway, my neuropathy has been slowly kind of diminishing. Ooh, now I'm having a hot flash. It kind of had plateaued, and the kind of it going away got smaller and smaller. Yeah, my descriptions are really bad today. The brain fog is really bad when I have a headache. So anyway, basically from his clinical assessment, he saw the line. He did do, you know, the neuropathy test, but he said like this type of neuropathy, because it's just like going down your foot, it does not show up on the test. But he said based on the, you know, clinical assessment of using that little thing to see what was like warm or cold, and I think he also used like a needle and pressed down further too. Based on all of that, he was like, you definitely have neuropathy. He was like, we can do a skin biopsy, and I was like, I don't really want to do that. But basically what we're gonna do about it stays the same. So yeah, I ended up not having the skin biopsy done because that just sounds incredibly painful, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, I definitely have confirmed neuropathy, and if I had not gone off of that intense medication, I would have permanent neuropathy and permanent nerve damage. And he basically said that it was doctor induced because the doctor didn't listen to me and didn't take me off it fast enough. And so he said that eventually this neuropathy will, hopefully, fingers crossed, go away. It's just like a bell curve, so the further out we get from it, the slower we see any progress, and then it goes away, and there's really nothing you can do except just wait. I have noticed a difference when I'm doing my affirmations. I'll say like, the nerves in my feet and hands are normal. The skin of my hands and feet is perfectly normal, and it will like help a little bit. So I'm continuing to do that, but other than that, there's really nothing else I can do, which sucks. But I'm so grateful that I listened to myself and my body and said, I'm not staying on this med, because I am pretty much 100% certain that this medication is causing this symptom. And I was also having suicidal thoughts from the med and severe depression. And so I was like, I'm not staying on this med, even though the doctor has given me no other endometriosis treatments and was not supportive of me coming off of it because she didn't believe me that it was causing it. So definitely a scary experience. I'm so glad that I've switched doctors at this point and listened to my body, and basically everything was confirmed with this neurologist that, like, yes, I have neuropathy. Yes, I would have had permanent damage if I'd stayed on that medication. It just felt very validating for like so many reasons. And so I'm just really grateful that, you know, my parents supported me in listening to my body, and I decided to make my own changes and yeah, go off of that medication. So very, very grateful that it sounds like it should hopefully go away, and I'm hopefully never having to go on another chemo, you know, treatment in my life again, which wasn't even for cancer. I just had endometriosis. And so yeah, that is like the neuropathy update. I'm really hoping that things continue to go in the right direction, and I will continue to update you all on it. But it was definitely a very interesting experience. If you ever have to have an EMG, it's not like fun, but it's definitely important to get the information out of it. And again, it just feels like something is stinging you, and it doesn't really last that long. So yeah, that was what I did last week, was do this EMG. Oh my gosh, I forgot to leave out the most important part. The EMG was at 6:45 a.m. So I had to get up at like 5 something. Nightmare. You all know I'm not a morning person, and it was just a really long day because then I had to go from there to PT at 10 a.m. It was a very, very, very long day. But I'm really excited to tell you more about my pelvic floor PT update. So we tried cupping these last 2 appointments, and it has been a really interesting, incredible experience. Like, it has helped my pain so much. So I think I'm gonna do a video on cupping at some point. I think I'm gonna get my own cupping set. I found one from a small business for like $20.99, so it's not super expensive, which is great, and you can use it like in any muscle all over your body. If I had a cupping set right now, you know what I would use it on? My freaking shoulder, because that puppy hurts so bad. So yeah, I will keep you all updated. I have a lot of vlog updates coming up soon, just with a bunch of different stuff. Minimalism, health updates, different stuff I'm exploring and trying. I've also been working on meditations, whole affirmation meditation that I couldn't find anywhere, so I made one myself, and I will definitely let you all know when it's released so you can go check it out, because I've really had a fun time like exploring more creative stuff. I explored watercolors recently. Someone bought me a watercolor kit, and so I had a really fun time exploring watercolors. Here are the 3 different ones that I made. Gave one to my dad, one to the person who gave me the watercolor kit, and then one to my mom. It's like super fun. So I'm just really trying to incorporate a lot of creativity into my healing, and that's going super well so far. I've been writing articles or like essays or blogs. I don't know what to call them, but there's a bunch of places I want to submit those. So ton of life updates that I will be throwing at you all soon, because we need to get into it at some point, because there's like so many fun things going on. That is the video for today. Thank you for listening and sticking with me even through my migraine fog. I'm on pain meds right now for it, so it's a little bit better, but like I am on the edge. So I'm gonna go down the couch now, and I will talk to you all soon.